Hello and welcome to the Armchair Pundits Manchester United post-match review show. I'm your boy Monts. It's about time Amorim got another record, so we were looking for 5 games unbeaten. And what a better place to get the record than our rivals due to the poor Europa League final of last year, where we got beaten by an own goal, by a handball, 3-point lane. Now we kind of head to Tottenham with Spurs coming on the back of a win in the week from Europe, but in fairness, not having the best form in the league currently. Mbeumo facing his old manager, Thomas Frank, from last season, so I had it in my head that he would score today. However, I knew this wasn't going to be an easy task. So we set out with Maguire being... finding a place in the middle of the back three. Euro having a seat on a bench with De Ligt going right side. Left side, Shaw, currently in form, to be honest, because he's managed to keep his place. You could argue that he's the only left-sided centre-back that we really got in Shaw, so why not start him? Dorgu found himself starting today, left side. Mazraoui found himself a starting position, right side. The midfield four of Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in deep line, and then the top was Mbeumo and Amad Diallo in the 10s, and just in front was Cunha. Now, first thing I'm thinking in my head, obviously Lemenzo's in goal. I say obviously because we don't have any other keeper. And I know Bayern's on the bench, so take that for what you will. So in my mind, that starting lineup just says compact the midfield, don't let them run through, and control the game, get the ball down wide for Mbeumo, Amad, and let's create them problems in the flanks. Porro's going to give us opportunities because he likes to play higher up the park. And Jed Spence, arguably, will try to do the same thing on the other side. However, they will probably focus mostly on their right side with Porro. So Mbeumo played on the side where Porro was, and Amad played on the side where Jed Spence was. So for me, decent lineup. We should be walking away with a win. Not a big emphatic win, but a win nonetheless. In the first half hour, if I'm honest, there was nothing really notable. You know, they were probing a little bit. You know, there was nothing that I could say to myself, wow, that was a great chance. Both teams were very tentative, almost scared. You know, I'd say they were probably trying to figure each other out. No one wanted to make the first wrong move, although Lemens did get the ball back from the centre-backs and the ball went under his feet for a corner. So that was probably the first mistake of the game, really. However, you know, he managed to shake that off and he had a pretty decent game. But outside of that, you know, the control was really United's, in my opinion. We should have made more of it. The first chance came at about half an hour where Diallo assisted the opener for Mbeumo, and it was a decent goal at that, well taken by Mbeumo. And, you know, I put my hand up and I said, I thought Bryan was gonna, Mbeumo was gonna score against Thomas Frank today, and he did. And I know that Thomas Frank knows the threat that Mbeumo brings to the forward play. So I'm surprised they didn't try to have him with his back to goal more often than not. But it was a great finish. And with 15 minutes to go in that half, we had 1-0 and looked good for it too. After that, the challenges started to fly in. Things started to get a little bit more aggressive. Romero got himself a yellow card. Van der Ven tried one of his marauding runs, which Casemiro locked straight down, wasn't having none of it. So we went into half-time with the lead and looked good for it. Coming out into the second half, I expected to see a few changes in Šeško possibly and bring in Cunha just in the 10 position. Didn't see that straight away. However, Tottenham did make some changes, bringing in Odibert and bringing on Odibert. But to be honest, the most concerning thing was the way that Tottenham started the second half. United almost fell back and Spurs were on the front foot from the jump. They were creating passes, creating chances. They were popping the ball about. You could see there was a sense of urgency with the way they were playing, and they were coming out a lot more fearless than they did in the first 45. So United had to focus and really just soak up the pressure to not allow any kind of lapse in concentration like we did against Nottingham Forest last week. Bearing in mind, against Nottingham Forest, we were 1-0 up going into half time. So I was already thinking, I don't want to have more of the same. I want us to focus, don't switch off, and make sure we either score another, which this game definitely needed from us, or just man for man, pick up your marker, don't lose anyone. After, say, the first, I don't know, first 20 minutes, there was a few chances that fell to Tottenham where, Lemens had to make some saves. Romero had a chance in the middle of the box. I think Richarlison had one or two chances that I believe he should have kind of done better with. Lemens stood the test. He made a couple of good saves in the second half. And, Tottenham didn't really take advantage of the chances that they had. So they made some changes, bringing off Simmons, bringing on off Paulinho, and bringing off Porro. Udogie came on, Bentancur came on, Tel came on. United also made some changes. We made four notable changes in Mazraoui coming on for Šeško, Casemiro off for Ugarte, Yoro off for Maguire, and Cunha off for Mount. Now, the Maguire substitution was definitely due to injury. The Casemiro substitution for me was a concern because, funny enough, I know everyone was against him, and I'd probably say I was a little bit worried about his legs in the midfield. But last week, when he came off, we looked distinctively different. We didn't have the security blanket that we have over our defence, the outlet, someone that can find danger and nullify it. We really struggled to kind of have control of the game. Probably about 5 minutes after Tel came on and those changes happened. So 5 or 10 minutes after Casemiro coming off, you could see that things were very disorientated. I think people were still trying to find a position because Diallo started in a 10. He then went right wing back. Obviously, Šeško coming on, going up top. I also see that, obviously, Mount coming in. So he's trying to find his energy. Although Mount didn't have a bad half or a bad 20 minutes in coming on, there was still kind of, a little bit of uncertainty in the way that we were playing. And we didn't look real... We didn't really pose any real threats for me to say to myself, we're going to get a goal soon. I just didn't feel that way. And that was really quite uncomfortable because, like I said to you, Spurs stepped out with an intention to get a goal early. So around about the 83rd minute or so, Spurs have an opportunity down the left wing where Odebe was occupying Diallo, and Udogie gets the ball. He puts the ball across the box to Tel, who was being marked by De Ligt, who had a very good game, by the way. De Ligt had an amazing game. He takes the ball on the back foot, turns and spanks it past Lemens. Being so close to goal and it being, accurate away from the keeper, you could have probably argued that it had a slight deflection. It was 1-1 Spurs. It was inevitable. The pressure was looking like it was too much for United at this point for us to handle. And it was very, very concerning. I was having PTSD vibes from the Forest game. So say it, so shall it be done. 6 minutes later, there's an opportunity outside the box with Odebe, another substitute creating problems. He takes the ball inside, cracks a shot off, and Richarlison managed to get a flick header in front of Lemens, and he was onside to put the ball past Lemens to make it 2-1 Spurs. Now, at this point, the defensive line pushes up. Ugarte is lacking behind. He's almost jogging to keep up with the line that Man United's defense is trying to keep. And at 1-1, you'd expect a little bit more urgency. Being a substitute, you'd expect a little bit more urgency. So like I said to you earlier on, Casemiro coming off for me at that point wasn't probably the best idea because I feel like Casemiro would definitely be up before anyone and Richarlison wouldn't have got that goal. However, it happened. United are 2-1 down. We've conceded 2 goals in 6 minutes. It's a repeat of last week. I'm losing my mind. What is going on? I'm in the Spurs stand at the minute because I went to the game. I forgot to mention that. Apologies, guys. But yeah, I'm in the Spurs stand and just really looking at the heavens thinking, again, 2 weeks on the bounce. We're 1-0 going into halftime. We come out. We don't take advantage of our 1-0 lead. And then we concede 2 goals in a matter of minutes. When you concede 1 goal and it's an equaliser, you need to strip things back. You need to just be more calm. You need to be more calculated, more measured. You need to be focused. Passing the ball to your man. Don't take any risks. It wasn't necessary. It really wasn't necessary. So Spurs were scored in the first minute of injury time. And if I'm honest, I didn't see us getting another goal. I was watching the game. So I was at the game with one of my other Armchair Pundits in Lyon. He's a Spurs fan. And he said, to be honest with you, the way that we're playing, I can see like there's going to be one more chance before the game's done. I just said to him, I can't see it, bruv. The game lacked a lot of quality. It was better than the final last year, but still lacked quality for a United and a Spurs side that have had a bunch of new signings, a new manager, and just, they've signed quality as well. So you'd expect to see better. I didn't really see much better. But anyway, United go up the other end and we get ourselves a corner. Bruno steps over the corner. He crosses the in-swinger. Who's at the back stick? Just give me the light. Headers the ball, free as a bird, back stick, pass with Caro, 2-2 United. I look to Leon, and Leon's just giving me the side eye. He don't even want to look at me. He said, I told you. And I was surprised. Now, can I call it 2 points dropped? Yes. Because at 1-0, we have to put that game to bed. We had the control, albeit it didn't look great, but we had the control of the game. There wasn't many big chances. I think there was only 2 or 3, to be honest. And Spurs probably had 2 or 3 also. So there wasn't loads to talk about. But in truth, there should have been a distinctive distance that United put between us and Spurs coming back when we got the first goal. If we got the second goal earlier on, I feel like Spurs would have capitulated and we might have got 2 or 3. But I did call it from earlier and said, this game doesn't say a big gap in the goal line. So I expected it to be close. But 2 games on a bounce now. United have gone 1-0 up before half time. And we've conceded 2 consecutively in a short space of time and then had to score an equaliser. You could argue that it shows character, resilience, a fight to come back. But I just want us to win and put teams to bed. I don't want to be in a game at 80 minutes, 90 minutes, and thinking, what way is it going to go? Put these teams away. 1-0, 2-0, ring the changes, score a third, that's it. We need to take away the positives, but also look at the negatives. The positive for me is United have gone 5 games unbeaten and we're scoring goals. The negatives for me are we're lacking focus and we are struggling to keep our leads, especially as they're small ones. So those are things that Amorim have to work on. But outside of that, I'm not going to overly complain because United are now sitting 7th in the table. We've still got a positive goal difference, which is a long time coming. And sitting on 18 points with Tottenham on the same amount of points, they're just better than us by goal difference. I'm not going to grumble too much. But a win today would have brought us second. So that's what you need to look at. And the same thing for last week. If we won last week, it would have brought us second. So the guys need to fix up. I'm going to get on to doing the player ratings. I think it's only right. We had a game plan and we didn't really deliver for the away fans. Lemens, I'm going to give Lemens a 6. Not because he had a horrible game, but he could have been the difference today. And unfortunately, he wasn't. He let in 2 goals. And those 2 goals cost us 2 points. It's not all on him because he's got a team in front of him. But at the end of the day, his job is to stop goals going in the back of the net. And yeah, he struggled to do that today. Luke Shaw, again, been pretty consistent. He didn't do enough for me in the press, in the way I've seen him pressing in the last few games. So I need to see more of what I saw in the last few games to really kind of turn my head around. So I'm going to give him a 6. Maguire, he done a job on Richarlison while he was on the pitch, up until the point that he came off for injury. But again, you know, it was just an okay performance by him. So I'm going to give him a 6. De Ligt, I've got to give De Ligt an 8. He scored the equaliser. He was immense going from right centre-back to centre-back. You know what? In fact, I'm going to give him a 7, not an 8. The reason why I'm going to give him a 7 is because he was marking Tell for Tell's equaliser. So arguably, if he had maybe been a little bit closer, he might have not got the shot off. So I'm going to give him a 7. But I'm going to give him, he was very close to getting an 8 due to the equaliser he scored. Mazraoui, I'm going to give Mazraoui a 7. He was safe. He was assured. Didn't make any mistakes that I can remember today. And I feel like he deserved his start today against Spurs. Dorgu, again, I'm going to give him a 7. He was electric going forward. Sorry, he was electric defending and going forward today. He didn't get much of the ball because I feel like they wanted to give the ball mainly to Mbeumo. However, he did support with the over and the underlapping. So he gets a 7 from me. Fernandes, I'm going to give Fernandes a 7. Brilliant game today. He was all over the place in terms of just like every part of blade of grass he covered. He couldn't do more than create the opportunity for the equaliser. However, if he maybe was a little bit more of the Fernandes that can just light the place up, we probably would have seen a winner come from him. But, you know, a 7 isn't anything to complain about too much. Casemiro, you're going to get a 6. Now, I know I say that the game changed when he left. He didn't really do nothing crazy on the pitch other than stopping Van der Ven from going on his marauding run. I do feel like he probably could have been more of an attacking threat in the box when we had a few of the set pieces, but it wasn't to be today. Cunha, I'm going to give Cunha a 6. I didn't really fancy the performance today. I feel like he could have done a lot better being in the number 9 or / the 10 role. However, after his first goal for us, he hasn't managed to get that run that I was kind of talking about previously. So yeah, 6 for him. Diallo, I'm going to give him a 7. He created the first goal for Mbeumo, but outside of that, he was pretty good in possession, but didn't really take and have many 1v1s in an attacking sense. So I didn't really see much of what I wanted to see from him today. And in Mbeumo, I'm going to give him Mbeumo an 8. He's been, alongside De Ligt, probably one of the better players in our team this season consistently. So I feel like those two have to be in the score sheet, have to be on the team sheet before most other names. I will leave the pod on this and simply say this. When we go to the AFCON part of the year, with Mbeumo Diallo, I feel like we could possibly struggle with having, and Mazraoui, that's right, and Mazraoui. I think we could possibly struggle with having those boys out because they've been pretty influential since the beginning of the season. So I'm hoping we've got a solution for that. It's very important. Not a great weekend, however, we move. 5 games unbeaten. Bring on the next opponent. Peace.